And let's face it, man, during this election, the South definitely had their voice, didn't they?
Well, they did, and I think that, it was interesting. I was talking to one of the strategists for Donald Trump, who was one of the head guys in Florida the other day, and he said, it was a hard 3-year battle for them. He said it was a really hard battle. He said, but there were a number of battles that they had to overcome, and of course, Florida's an interesting. I don't know that you really consider Florida a true Southern state.
No,
it's a huge mixing pot there. Folks that have come down from the north, retirees and such. And
I think we actually took a little bit of California off and we kind of moved it over there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's a good example. But
that was for the other part of the flavor.
Yeah.
There on election night, I was interested to see which way Georgia was going to go. They didn't call Georgia till real late, and that's my home state, so I was a little bit surprised. Georgia never had a Republican governor. Excuse me, they never had a Republican governor up until about 10 years ago. Maybe not even that long ago. Georgia was straight Democrat. Of course, again, Democrat meant something different years ago than what it does today. But yeah, I kind of had a good feeling that Trump was going to carry most of the South. I didn't know what was going to happen in North Carolina. I was excited when he pulled that out because I knew that he had to have obviously Ohio, but he had to have Florida and he had to have North Carolina before he could do anything. And when he got, for me, I felt like the election was pretty much in the bag unless a miracle happened when he got Ohio, and he got Ohio early. But then to see the southern states start to fall in line, it was a historic night. I mean, whether you're a Trump guy or not, that was a historic night.
Yeah.
And, I'm so excited.
Donald Trump, by my admission many, many times, Donald Trump was not my original guy. He was not the guy I was on board with. Right. He was just the guy we wound up with. And so then there were certain things that Donald Trump did that kind of won me over a little bit. And I won't say that he completely converted me because, the future is yet to be written. But he did a few things that won me over. And there's some things that made me realize that Donald Trump's not the villain that the mainstream media wants us to believe he is. His kids are a perfect example of that.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody that raises up, kids that are that solid, and I'm not saying they're perfect. Of course they're not.
Right.
But, they're some pretty solid kids. There's got to be something going right in the guy's household. And then when I saw his potential list for Supreme Court justices that he would put in there, I liked that too. And that was a good thing because let's face it, that empty Supreme Court seat and then the potential upcoming ones, that's a big deal that is going to absolutely decide the future and culture of this country. And that, for me, this whole election was about the Supreme Court for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And it didn't matter to me who ultimately became that Republican nominee. They had my vote. And I don't understand. I do, but I don't understand why George W. and Laura Bush can come away and say, well, we just didn't vote in the presidential election.
Yeah.
An admission like that, knowing what's up for grabs and what's at stake is not something that made me very happy. Now, Hillary Clinton, admittedly, I'll admit it, she's not my kind of conservative, but when it comes to liberalism, she's a pretty conservative politician overall.
That's an interesting way to look.
She's not my kind of conservative, but she's pretty conservative for them. What I think happened there was she saw how everybody on the far left was really leaning towards Bernie Sanders, and she saw what Bernie pulled, and they managed to get Bernie out of the way with the manner in which they did it between her and the mainstream media. And but she knew she had to pull those Bernie supporters as much as she could, so she started moving more and more left. Now, it didn't work, obviously. I don't think she was able to truly pull the minority vote. I don't think she was able to pull the Hispanic vote like they thought she would. And I don't think that those folks that really, really, truly bought into the Bernie Sanders political scheme and philosophy were voting for Hillary Clinton. I think a lot of the people that are on the streets protesting this election today, if you really could trace it back, were the people that originally started saying, we love Bernie Sanders. We're, feel the burn. Yep. A lot of those guys. And I think a lot of those, just like what happened in Oregon where they arrested 112 people and 70% of them didn't even vote or weren't even registered to vote, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those were Bernie supporters to begin with, and they just said, you know what, we're going to sleep through it and hope she's got it in the bag because we're not going to the polls. So, you know, it was a monumental night, regardless. If whether you're a Trump supporter or not, it was a historic night.
Well, that's one of the things that we pointed out in a couple of our previous podcasts is that, you know, he got out there being Trump and just really beat the bushes. He was out every single day, and for the last 3 weeks of the election was out there to 5, 6, 7 rallies a day. Yeah. And she was lucky if she did one every third, fourth day. So
yeah, she was in hiding.
Yeah.
She was in hiding.
It was all arrogance.
Was made a great point, you know, after it was Mike Pence actually made a great point. He said, you know, who's going to be commander in chief when it's over 78 degrees? Because, you know, she had her little heat suffering thing from pneumonia on 9/11, and you know, it wasn't that hot. And you know, his thing was, if we're in an emergency and it's over 78 degrees, we're all going to be in trouble if she's commander in chief. But she was in hiding. She sent Michelle out. She sent Barack out. Right. She sent Tim Kaine out, and you know, Bill even poked his head out from the brothel every day.
Well, let's not forget Beyonce and Jay-Z too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Jay-Z, that's what I want. I want somebody that's a felon that can't even vote on the platform, telling everybody how to vote. So, you know, obviously, depending on who's listening to this, I may not be making a lot of friends here, but I don't respect, you know, that kind of deal. But you know, my thing is, okay, we're going to pull all the celebrities out. If I got to have a celebrity to tell me how to vote, then I'm in trouble. This country's in trouble. If it comes down to who celebrities support, you know, these guys with the big voices coming out of L.A., well, we know where they are, and they have to say that, or they're going to get blackballed in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's right. And, it's all about the money, as we always say.
Yep.
You follow, you chase the money, you'll find the motive. I mean, that's the thing. So, you know, Hillary was in hiding. Donald was in 5, 6 cities in different states a day. I mean, he was burning the jet fuel, man. He was all over the place, and you know, I loved the rhetoric. I loved, you know, him saying, "Look, you take these businesses down to Mexico and build a plant and try to, you know, export that and bring it back into the U.S. We're going to put 35% on this deal." I like that kind of talk. Detroit liked that kind of talk.
Yep.
You know, Michigan, those workers in Michigan, they love that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've never been able to listen to Michael Moore talk longer than 30 seconds without feeling a little bit nauseous. But when they released that video of him giving the reasons why Donald Trump was going to win this election, I was like, hey, the dude knows what he's talking about. At least he's being honest.
Yeah. We use that clip, man. We almost revere that clip, and we don't like that guy by and large, but we listen to that one.
Yeah.
Good job, you know.
I was like, are these words matching up with his lips? Over? Because is this really Michael Moore saying these things? But I'll give it to him. He was 100% right.
We were like, but there's something behind this. There's some money to be made from saying this, too. That's why he's doing it.
Of course.
You know, he's got that new movie, Trump Lane, but I think you watch and see if he'll turn that into like a regular TV show or something, because he's right on the money on that. All he did was pivot. He saw the writing on the wall and said, I'm going to make some money off it. Watch.
Well, I have regular access to a lot of people. You know, I have a big social media following. You know, by the grace of God, people watch all these videos I put out there, and I don't know why they do.
Because
y'all
it's awesome.
Y'all played the clip at the beginning of the deal, and I'm like, Lord, I can't listen to myself for 2 minutes.
We figured that. We just want to ask one thing about that, man.
What's that?
We want to ask something about that.
What?
Have you ever had a spanking?
I've given them out a time or two.
Any memorial spankings? You know, like something real memorable in your past when you were a kid? Because you got to learn somehow.
Bring the wooden spoon to bed, Mom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, doesn't Georgia have the switches? You know?
Oh, yeah.
We certainly
have to
did.
Go pick them.
Yeah, see?
Listen, let me tell you something. I won't tell you that I lived some hard life. I didn't know any different, but we grew up in the woods, man. I didn't live in a neighborhood. I wasn't someplace where the friends were right down the street. My friends were the dogs. My brothers, I got 2 brothers. They were 10 years. They're both 10 years older than me. So they were off to college by the time I was, 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so, I was alone. I had the dogs. My best friends were the dogs. I'd have to walk a mile just to get somewhere where there was civilization. We lived in the woods. And so, people sit there and say, and then if I wasn't playing ball, we were working. We had to work. And we worked hard. My grandfather had a brick masonry business that is now my brother's. And my dad was a builder and developer. And so from the age of 6 in the summertime, if we didn't have something more pressing going on, we were pushing a broom or laying bricks or something, depending on what we could do. So, I didn't grow up in some spoiled kind of life or anything like that. And I have a lot of folks that think that I did. But I'll tell you, when we got in trouble, you had to go out and pick that switch. I can't tell you how many times my mother said, I want you to go out there and pick a better one than this.
No kidding.
This is flimsy. I don't want this. I want another one. And I never thought of that as abuse. I can remember one time I smarted off to my mother, and my dad, beat me half to death. I can remember one time one of my brothers smarted off to my mother. He put his head through the wall. We didn't think of that as abuse. We kind of deserved it.
And look how you turned out, man. Awesome.
Yeah, I know. People are calling child protection services on this stuff. We just look. Here was the deal. We didn't look at it as abuse. We respected and feared our dad. My dad is in a veteran's home right now. He's had multiple strokes. He's got dementia. He rarely and barely knows who I am. I was on a major news network this morning, and my mother showed him a video from it, and he recognized me, which was unusual because the dementia is so bad. But let me tell you, he's half paralyzed on one side of his body, can barely move around, but he still has the ability to give you that look that, by God, will put the fear in you, and you respect him. So we learned how to respect our elders. We learned how to say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and no, sir, and how to treat women and all those things. And now those are punchlines.